Okay, hello everyone. Welcome to tonight's meeting with Chef Natalie. We are so excited. Welcome if you're a first timer here or you've been coming to these meetings for quite some time. I'm Sid Notter, and I first want to recognize the PBNSG team. Paul Chatlin is the founder of PBNSG, and he's the face of an amazing inspirational story going from nearly dead to strong. He's vibrant and healthy, and he loves to tell that story through a plant-based lifestyle. Marian Treese is our Director of Operations, Brett Nyquist, the Director of Technology, and Megan Burt, the Director of Support Groups here. We also have an amazing team of specialized hosts who each lead their own monthly support group. And as Paul Chatlin likes to say, we are together as one, and we all have the same passion of helping people find success with plant-based eating. So again, my name is Sid Notter. I'm an author, a past newspaper columnist, and a longtime nutrition educator who's been teaching plant-based education for over 25 years now. And I host the inflammation support group here that meets the first Tuesday of every month. If that would be something that interests you, please join us. And if you're new tonight, PBNSG stands for Plant-Based Nutrition Support Group, which is a nonprofit organization dedicated to evidence-based education and the advocacy of plant-based eating to help prevent or cure our ailments and our chronic disease. So in the membership platform here, you have access to live virtual events, cooking demos, such as tonight's demonstration, support groups, event recordings, and even more. And PBNSG is now offering something called Perfectly Plant-Based Nutrition Coaching for individuals who would like more one-on-one support with this lifestyle. So visit our website, pbnsg.org, to find out about upcoming events or subscribe to the newsletter. And there's a cookbook on there too, Perfectly Plant-Based Cookbook, which has over 100 recipes from more than our 20 contributing chefs. And don't forget that our monthly community support group meetings are the second Thursday of each month. So that's coming up too. And you can register and find out more about all of this at PBNSG. So tonight, I would like to introduce to you Chef Natalie Brodsky. She is going to be presenting how to make vegetable summer Thai curry and black bean tahini brownies. And Natalie Brodsky is of Gray Table Cuisine, and you will get to see how she makes these recipes that would be the hit at any potluck. Natalie is a self-taught plant-based chef who's passionate about using food as medicine and the intersection of nutrition with taste and aesthetic. Natalie's been cooking for more than a decade, and she has successfully run a farmer's market stand. She's put on several ticketed pop-up dinners, and she's catered small private events with as many as 30 guests. Inspired by her father, who's a chiropractor, Natalie developed an interest in holistic medicine and living a healthy lifestyle at a young age. She soon discovered that cooking was her favorite outlet to express this interest because it allowed her to combine her creativity with wellness. She's a certified plant-based nutrition expert through the Cornell School of Plant-Based Nutrition, and she's a certified health coach through the Institute for Integrative Nutrition. So before we get into the cooking demo, if anyone has questions for Chef Natalie, please type them in the chat box and we will get to those at the end or perhaps during the presentation too. But if you have a question, please type it in the chat box, and we promise that those will get answered either right away or at the end of the meeting. So welcome, Chef Natalie.
Thank you. Thank you so much. It's great to be here doing a demo. As Sid said, I'll be making Thai curry and black bean tahini brownies. I'm going to start off with the curry, save the brownies for dessert. And if anyone has any questions while I'm going through the demo, feel free to type them in and I will answer them. I'm not sure like what everyone's level cooking wise is, so let me know if I'm going too basic, too advanced. But I'll just start making the recipe, and I think all the participants, it was emailed to you, so if you want to follow along, feel free. And if not, I'm going to post them to my website tomorrow if you did not get the email. So the curry starts with an onion. I feel like that's how many plant-based dishes start. I already chopped up the onion, and I'm going to start sauteing. I'm using like a Dutch oven, but any large soup pot will do. So using a little water to water saute the onion like we do in plant-based cooking. I'm gonna also use my phone to kind of show you what's going on the stove. I apologize about my crying dog in the background. It's pouring rain here and he wants to go outside. So sauteing the onion about 5 to 8 minutes until it's soft and kind of caramelized. And then we have garlic and ginger, which I chopped up, and I used a mincer to mince 2 cloves of garlic. And then coconut sugar, which kind of just, brings out the sweetness of the onion and kind of helps it soften and caramelize a bit more. And then green curry paste, which you could find at most regular grocery stores. Here's the brand that I'm using tonight, but Thai Kitchen makes a good one. This one said oil-free right on it, but most of them are. So if anyone has any questions about finding the products, let me know. So we're just going to keep sauteing the onion until things soften a little bit. Like I mentioned in the recipe, this recipe is great with kind of any vegetable that you want to use. I put eggplant, zucchini, summer squash is what I'm using tonight, and some tomatoes. If you are using kind of different textured vegetables, you're going to want to add the ones that take longer to cook in first.
Is the green curry paste, is that really spicy, Natalie, or is it kind of medium?
I find it to be too spicy. I find it to be a little more medium than the red, making it a nice option if you are less into. Sorry, I'm gonna let out my dog. Sorry.
Yep, we've all had dog issues, haven't we? Mine used to wait till I was on the phone and then they'd start barking their head off.
Yeah, so the onion is getting going. So I'm going to add the coconut sugar first to just kind of get that nice caramelization on the onion.
So can everyone see Natalie's phone? She's got her phone over the food so you can get a bird's eye view. Yeah, that's hopefully is at the top of your screen.
Here's the coconut sugar I'm using. You could use maple syrup too, or just regular sugar. I just, like to go a little more natural when possible. And then the ginger and the garlic, we're gonna put in there as well. And the green curry paste. So kind of just, you want to, mix the curry paste around until it's coating all the onion, ginger, garlic, until it starts to smell nice and fragrant in the kitchen. And then things got kind of nice and wet, I guess, but if you need to prevent sticking, you could always add a little more water as you go, if this kind of starts to stick to the bottom of the pan. Sometimes I like to add chopped up potatoes to curry, so I would add those now because they take a bit longer to cook. So then we are gonna, the next thing we're gonna add is liquid aminos, which is like a soy sauce tamari alternative. I'm sure many of you are familiar. I feel like it gives a lot of flavor and plant-based cooking and kind of that salty umami flavor. So I'm gonna add a tablespoon of this. And then I'm gonna whisk in a cup of vegetable broth. I'm using low sodium, just Whole Foods brand veggie broth. And a can of regular coconut milk. I think someone asked if you need like a coconut milk alternative. You could use unsweetened oat if you're not doing coconut for whatever reason, or you could use a can of light coconut milk. Just the dish wouldn't be as rich tasting, but I think it would still turn out great. Here's the coconut milk I'm using.
Is the unsweetened oat milk thick, Natalie, or creamy?
It kind of depends on the brand. Marion actually asked me about that, and I thought it would be a good alternative. I don't know if she doesn't like the taste of the coconut or just like reducing the fat from the recipe kind of thing. So here's what it looks like, stirring in the coconut milk, and then you're just gonna start adding your veggies. So I pre-chopped some eggplant. It's the summer, so those nice little smaller eggplants from the farmer's market are great, and it really absorbs the curry sauce well, which I love. And then zucchini and summer squash going in there as well. And then if you have tomatoes, corn, I'm going to add some chopped up Swiss chard, which I will do momentarily. So you're kind of just going to bring this to a boil. I just saw in the chat box, yeah, you can use light coconut. Yeah, so depending on how big or small you chop up your veggies, I'm going to chop up the Swiss chard. It'll take around 20 minutes. It also depends like what kind of vegetables you're using. This is a pretty like customizable recipe. So if it's winter, you can do more wintry vegetables like squash or broccoli, cauliflower kind of thing. I just thought it would be fun for the summer to do kind of a summer theme with what's in season. I don't know where everyone's located, but this is kind of what I've been seeing at the Michigan markets. And yeah, so I say 6 cups of vegetables, but if it's a little more or a little less, it's pretty forgiving. And you could even use frozen vegetables too, which is what I love about this recipe as well. So I'm just going to add the chard into the pot.
Could this be made in an Instant Pot as well, or is stovetop the best?
I don't really know the timing for the Instant Pot. I'm sure it could be. I've just never, I couldn't really tell you exactly how you set your Instant Pot to have it turn out, but I'm sure it could be.
Mm-hmm.
So here's what it looks like. Just gonna bring it to a boil and let it kind of turn it down, cover the pot, and let it simmer till everything gets soft. Yes, you could definitely freeze leftover. I think it makes great frozen leftovers. And then I usually serve it over brown rice. So I buy the frozen packets of brown rice too, from Trader Joe's or Whole Foods, or you could just, make a big batch of rice and freeze in individual portions. So very freezer friendly. Does anyone have any questions so far?
Did you already put the ginger in, Natalie?
I did.
Okay.
Garlic.
So did you grate that or mince it up? I never know really which is the best way to go with that.
Minced it. You could definitely grate it. I just feel like if I don't have to take out my grater, then, all the easier. So I minced it, but Either way works. And normally the curry paste have some ginger in them as well, so you're getting more ginger flavor from that as well. And then using tofu for like for the protein source, which I'll probably add once the chard cooks down a little more. You could also use tempeh, or you could throw in a can of beans. I've tried all work well.
Sounds very versatile.
It is. I feel like those are my favorite kind of recipes, and those are the recipes people like to see, because when you're, wanting to make something, but you have what you have already, you want it to fit the ingredients you have on hand instead of running out and buying something new. Yeah, I would say as long as you have the can of coconut milk and the curry paste on hand, most of the rest of the things are things you probably have.
Okay.
Yeah.
I like how you said everything starts with an onion. I've heard that before, right? Everything starts with an onion.
You kind of just add based on what direction you're going. I feel like a lot of Asian dishes, you put in ginger and garlic, and more Mexican style dishes, you'd add some hot peppers or jalapenos, or carrots and celery for like Italian flavor. But a lot of onions. So I'll show everything's just kind of cooking down. I'm gonna add the tofu. How much? The coconut milk has no oil. I just saw that question. There are 5 servings in it, and each serving has 14 grams of fat, so it is pretty high in fat. But it is, I feel like, oil free, so it's whole food fat. I don't know if people are into that or not, but I always feel pretty decent about using coconut milk when I'm not using oil. So, but definitely the light or the oat milk is a good option if you're trying to avoid fat entirely, or cut down on it rather. So here it goes. It's cooking, and then it'll take like 20-ish minutes, and it kind of depends how, like I said, what kind of vegetables you're using. It's not like the prettiest of colors, but once you add the fresh herbs, that kind of brightens it up, which I enjoy.
Does the tofu kind of absorb all the flavors? Is that
It does. And I guess I forgot to mention, I did press the tofu beforehand, and I'm using extra firm.
Extra firm. Okay.
Extra firm. I think I write it on the recipe. Yep.
You said you did press it, or you did not?
I did. I did. But it just kind of, I feel like it absorbs the flavor better when there's not water already in it. So that's kind of nice. And then if you end up using more vegetables, or things are looking a little dry, you can always add in another splash of broth for more of a liquidy curry. Some people, I feel like it a little more saucy. Some people like it more dry. So like I said, very customizable. And I don't know if we want to get started on the brownies while this is kind of simmering.
Sure.
Okay,
So you add the lime juice later, is that right? With the
very end, we're gonna add the lime.
Oh, gotcha.
And then I have cilantro and basil. So that's kind of the right before you're ready to serve is when I like to add those.
Looks delicious.
Thank you. It smells great. I wish everyone could smell it through the camera.
What's your favorite way to cook rice? Do you use the Instant Pot or some other method?
I usually just do stovetop. I feel like I do a brown rice for like 22 minutes. It's kind of the time I set my timer to. I rinse it beforehand, which I feel like makes it less kind of gummy. Makes the final product less gummy, which is nice. I don't know if anyone's ever found that with rice. It gets a little like sticky. So I rinse and then put it in the pot with water bring to a boil, crack the lid and simmer for like 22 minutes. But I also love, like, I took out some of these packets from my back freezer. Trader Joe's organic brown rice. Whole Foods also makes a frozen. I feel like it's a good option for when you don't have time to make rice. Yeah.
Sounds great. I wish I lived near a Trader Joe's or Whole Foods. I don't.
Yeah, I know. It makes things convenient. All right, so I guess I'll switch over to the brownies. I kind of just have this simmering on low for now, and then we could come back and finish it off with the herbs and the lime juice after we do the brownies. So this is one of my just moving stations over here. I feel like one of my favorite fun ways to make healthy desserts is with using beans. I don't know if anyone's done the bean route, like chickpea cookies, black bean brownies. So it's kind of like a sneaky way to get in protein and fiber and not like utilize any of the fattier, sugarier flour ingredients. And I feel like the desserts come out super rich and delicious tasting. I mean, this is by no means low calorie, but it's all whole foods and nothing refined. So, feel good about eating it. So I have the food processor out, which is kind of the best tool for brownies. I find when I use like the Vitamix, things just kind of get stuck at the bottom. So for these kind of dessert recipes, I like using a food processor. And then on your recipe, I have like, you're making an 8x8 pan, but I'm actually doubling it. It's very, very easy to double, triple. So if it looks like I'm using a ton of each ingredient, that's why. So you start off by making a flax egg, which is flax seed mixed with water, and it kind of creates like a gel texture. So I have 2 tablespoons of flax in this bowl. And then I'm going to combine it with 10 tablespoons of water, which is like about a little over a half a cup. I'm just using a half a cup. And here it's kind of going to gel up, as you can see here. And then I have pitted medjool dates, black beans. So just using a regular can of black beans, drained and rinsed. And I'm going to throw them into the food processor. The next ingredient is the dates. I get these at Costco. They're my favorite dates. Very like soft and kind of more, I don't know, some dates I feel like at different stores could be a little tough, and I feel like these have a very creamy interior. But any dates will work. Just make sure they're pitted. Those add the sweetness. And then I have a cup of tahini, or a half a cup if you're making the recipe as written. You could also use really any nut butter you like. Several members of my family have a nut allergy, so I tend to lean towards the seed butters when I can. But peanut butter would be delicious in this recipe, kind of like a chocolatey peanut butter brownie. And then I have cacao powder. Gives it the brownie chocolatey taste. So this is what everything looks like going into the food processor. So a half a cup of this.
When you made your flax egg, Natalie, did you use 1 tablespoon of flaxseed to how many tablespoons of water?
It's usually like 1 to either 2 or 3. I find it that like I've done both. It doesn't really matter that much.
Okay.
Here it is. Just go check out my, so I'm gonna add in the flax egg.
Did you chop those dates up before you added them?
I didn't, I just pitted them. Yes. And then a half a teaspoon of baking soda and a fourth a teaspoon of salt going in, which, you know, makes them rise a little bit. And then a teaspoon of vanilla. And then start, it's probably gonna get a little loud. I used flax meal. This is what I used here. Just gonna let this run for several minutes, but I'll show you like a little preview of what it's looking like. It looks like brownie batter. You might have to like scrape the sides down a bit. Then you could, if things are like really not moving, you could always add a few tablespoons of water at a time to kind of get things going.
But you have a double batch there, don't you?
I do.
Yeah.
I do. Here's how things are progressing. I like to get it like very, very smooth. Then at the end, I add chocolate chips. Here it is. Does anyone have any oil-free baking questions? Or I feel like desserts can be like one of the hardest things to kind of figure out when it comes to whole food, plant-based. So it's kind of fun. I like playing around with different substitutions, and very fun to me.
Mm-hmm. Do you ever use aquafaba as an oil replacement in your cooking, the chickpea juice?
I have. I've used it for like a oil or like a mayo type of thing.
Mm-hmm.
I have not really done it in desserts. I feel like a lot of people use it for what's like a meringue type of thing. I've never gotten that fancy. So somebody asked about my food processor. It is a Cuisinart 14 cup. So holds a lot. And then once everything's all processed, if you will, I add in chocolate chips, totally optional, because, you know, it does kick up the fat and sugar content. But I feel like to, you know, when I'm easing friends and family into the lifestyle, I like to, you know, hit them with some chocolate chips. And you only use a fourth of a cup in the regular batch, so it's not a crazy amount. And then you could also, you know, if you wanted to, mix in like walnuts, or if you want to chop up some other dried fruit, really anything would go in here if you want like a little crunch or chew factor. And then I'm gonna put them into the recipe is written, makes an 8x8 pan. This is a 9x13. It's everyone's favorite whole food plant-based dessert. If you want to type it into the chat box, we could talk desserts.
Well, let's see. Favorite plant-based dessert? You'd like us to type that in the chat box?
Yeah.
I know what mine is because right now I'm on a chocolate orange nice cream kick.
Great. How do you make that? Bananas, I assume.
Yeah, bananas, cacao, orange zest, zest, and actually the orange juice, fresh orange juice. And it makes there's a chocolate orange topping, a sauce too that goes on top.
Oh, that's cool. I've
Yeah.
never put orange in there.
Lori says she's been loving blueberry breakfast cake.
Ooh, that sounds good.
Mm-hmm.
I love always getting new ideas.
Yeah.
I feel like the worst part about this recipe is cleaning the food processor. But other than that, it's very easy. It basically chops the dates for you. So this is kind of what it looks like as I'm spreading it. I line the pan with parchment so you don't have to spray it with oil, and they kind of just pop right out. They cool. So it's a nice way to cut back on oil and also cut back on your cleaning time. And then you're going to bake it in a 350-degree oven for 25 minutes. I did not turn my oven on because I didn't want any extra noise in the background. So I will be baking these after the demo. And then I did include a recipe for a date caramel sauce that's optional. That I did not plan to demo, but if you want to like drizzle a little caramel, if you're making these for a party, get a little fancier, it's also a great option.
So you'd wait till the brownies are cool for that, Natalie, or would you do it while they're warm?
I would wait until they're cool.
Okay.
Honestly, they'd be great served over some banana and ice cream. It's like a brownie fudge sundae.
Mm-hmm.
No bad stuff. Now we can go back to the curry. If everyone wants to do that. Here's the brownies. They don't have to be so it looks a little rustic, but once you bake them, they're absolutely delicious.
Are they chewy or are they more firm?
They're pretty chewy.
Okay.
Yeah, kind of like a doughy texture. Yeah. Okay. So back to the curry station. Here's how everything has looked, kind of simmering up in the pot. So I usually just like to take the vegetable that would take the longest to cook. In this case, it's eggplant, and kind of just test it for doneness, which is kind of how I determine if it's done. I think it still could use a little bit of time. And this curry paste I use definitely has a kick to it. But if you're really into heat, you could always add hot sauce at the end. So I'm gonna let that cook for a little longer. Any other questions?
What are some of your favorite desserts that you like to make that are quick?
It's a good question. I love like oat banana cookies. I should probably it's very easy. Just take like 2 very ripe bananas, a cup and a half of oats, and like a spoonful of nut butter. Mix it all together, and form into little balls and bake for like 10-15 minutes. And I kind of feel like you could use as much or as little nut butter as you want to control the fat content. They work really well, just banana and oats. You can add vanilla, you can add cinnamon, you can add chocolate chips, some raisins. So love that one. But honestly, like I love dates. Put a little chocolate chip in a date and dip it in some nut butter. I feel like it's a great dessert. Love banana and ice cream.
Me too.
It's a favorite. Do you use the food processor or the blender?
Well, I have a Yonana, but the food processor works. Right now, I'm just using the blender.
Okay.
But
nice.
I made mint ice cream too. I had fresh mint. That was really, really good.
Wow. That's awesome.
Yeah. I could eat that every night.
It really is good. All right, so vegetables are looking nice and soft. Things are looking good. I'm gonna add now the lime juice and the basil and cilantro. How does everyone feel about cilantro in the group? I know it's a polarizing herb. I personally love it. I use it in a lot.
I think it tastes like soap. Have you ever heard that?
I have. I think it's like it's a genetic thing. Like if you have the gene, it tastes like soap, and if you don't, I think it tastes like very fresh and gives everything a nice freshness. I'm just using half a lime, and then normally I like cut another wedge, and kind of you could put it on each plate for people can kind of garnish. You could garnish, and you could lime to taste. You can also do that with the herbs, but I kind of like to mix them in just so everything is evenly herby. I'm using basil and cilantro. Just use one or the other. And I don't know where everyone is coming from, but finding like fresh basil at the farmer's market this time of year is awesome, and a lot of people grow it, and it grows like crazy. So it's kind of a nice way to use up some of that summer basil.
You said that the curry freezes well, right, Natalie?
I did, yes.
Okay. When I think of Thai food, I often think of noodles. I bet you could actually could you put that over noodles instead of rice?
Yeah. It's a great point. Thank you. Basil. And I always store my basil outside of the fridge because I find it doesn't brown as quickly. I don't know if anyone has found that, but a little tip. So here it is. And then I'm going to heat up some rice and serve it over that, which I'll do now. Any other questions? I feel like I've went way under time.
Do you want to tell us more about your business as you're going along, what you do? Or
Yeah, sure. So I'm a personal chef based in the suburbs of Detroit, Michigan. I cook for families and people in the area who not everyone, I would say maybe half are plant-based, but a lot are just trying to work more plant foods into their diet. So I do a weekly menu with kind of like soup, salad, grain bowl type of foods that people eat for lunches or dinners. And then I also will go to people's houses and kind of do like, maybe 4 hours of meal prep for them to set them up for a week, which is kind of a nice thing for like busy families to stock their fridge. And then I do little dinner parties and like small events, which is also fun. I like, mixing it up. It's kind of different than just doing the weekly stuff. I feel like I could get a little more creative and I'm doing more private events. So that's fun.
mm-hmm.
I just had my first child 2 months ago. So I've been taking a little time off and very excited to get back to it next month. So that's where I'm at.
That batch cooking thing sounds interesting, where you go to someone's house and cook for 4 hours.
Yeah. I mean, it could be 2 hours, it could be 3, but it kind of like the best, I get the most done in 4 hours, and then stock your fridge, stock your freezer, which is awesome for people if they're like coming back in from out of town, or,
Yeah.
busy family with kids, if you need some like dinner, weeknight dinner kind of thing. So it's a fun part of my business. And I always thought, I know this is the plant-based support group, so exclusively plant-based, but I always tell people that even eating this way most of the time is good. And I'm sure when I prepare food for some families, there's some family members who are adding meat or whatever, but I feel like if this is most your plate, you're in the right spot. So I try to be flexible with people, and I only cook plant-based, but whatever can kind of help them lean more to this zone, I'm happy with.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Are there still farmers markets going on in your area?
Yeah, I feel like it's just getting into full swing right now.
Really?
A few. Yeah, I feel like lately the Michigan produce has kind of been like hitting its peak late. And I would say August and September are my favorite times. The tomatoes are awesome. A lot of eggplant and zucchini, a lot of greens, basil. There's just nothing better than like a fresh tomato. And I feel like corn hasn't even hit its peak yet, so that'll be good.
Mm-hmm.
A few weeks, and then get right into like the squash season, which is a favorite probably of a lot of plant-based eaters. I feel like we all love squash.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Do you bake squash and then fill it with filling? What are your favorite squash recipes?
It's a good question. I do a lot of roasted squash, like just delicata rings or chopped up butternut, or I really like kabocha squash. I'll puree it and do like soups. Also, I make curries out of squash. Spaghetti squash is great. I'll do some, actually the last time I did one of these demos, I did lentil meatballs. Love serving that over spaghetti squash. That recipe's on my website if anyone wants to check it out. Yeah, I do occasionally stuff it, but I find like when you chop it up more, kind of just caramelizes better in the oven and gets sweeter. In it more whole. Yeah.
Sounds good. So are there a lot of recipes on your website?
There's honestly not that so many, but I will definitely keep adding them because people ask me, and kind of just as I do events, I post them.
Okay.
Because I'm making like kind of high volume of food. So I, kind of to pare it down for people is, I end up doing a lot of math. I know not everyone wants to make 10 quarts of soup at a time. So should get better about posting on my website. So the rice just finished.
So are you on Eastern time, Natalie?
I am.
Okay,
So
it still seems like it's still light out there.
It is. It's nice. It stays light out pretty late in the summer. So that's nice. Be plating up the curry. Brown rice is pretty hot. So start with a layer of brown rice at the bottom. And then ladle the curry on top. And finish it with that basil gum. A little more fresh basil. And wedge of lime. And there you have it.
Looks good.
Yeah, thank you. So there's the summer Thai green curry for you.
Really, really simple.
Thank you. Thank you. Any other questions?
Any other questions? Well, we're not going to get to see the brownies, right? They're not going to be done in time.
No.
But we can dream about them and make that recipe.
Yeah. Please do.
Yeah.
And I'll post a picture once they're out of the oven.
Okay.
So follow my Instagram, Gray Table Cuisine.
Okay. So if there are no other questions, is there anything more you'd like to add before we sign off? Or
No, I really hope that people try these recipes, and if you do, feel free to message me or email me, and I'd love to hear how they turn out for you and kind of what spin you put on to make them your own. What vegetables you use, what herbs. So let me know. Love hearing from other plant-based people. And it was a pleasure demoing tonight. So thank you so much, Sid.
thank you, Natalie. This was so informative.
I'm so glad.
2 recipes I'm definitely going to be making.
Okay, good. Let me know how they turn out, please.
Okay.
All right. Thank you so
Good
much.
night, everyone. Good night.
Thanks for watching and for being a part of the PBNSG community. If you found this video helpful, be sure to give it a thumbs up and subscribe to our channel for even more plant-based insights, expert interviews, and delicious recipes.